friends. Okay, so today I want to speak to you about industry trend. On Mondays, I try to share with my subscribers and my email subscribers an industry trend that you should be aware of. And I do this because it really helps you both as a formulator of products and as well as a consumer of products. When you're a consumer, it helps you because you can really discern whether, that $48 bottle of conditioner is just a marketing gimmick or if, wow, they really put their foot in this, you know. So it helps you make better choices that will help you really sophisticated choices as a formulator to bring to your customer base, which of course is what you want and what they want. Okay, so great about fermented extracts. So with fermented extracts, with regular extracts, you usually get just one plant. You get the seed, you get the fruit, you get the skin, right? But a lot of times with fermented extract, you're able to get multiple aspects of the plant. So for example, if you got a fermented watermelon extract, you'd be able to get the rind, the flower, and the seed all in one extract, which is pretty unusual, okay? The second thing that you want about fermented extracts, well, that's so great about them, is that they are more bioavailable, meaning that the scalp, the skin, the hair can absorb them more easily. They don't just sit on top of the skin without your being able to benefit from the nutrients in them. Much like yogurt is better for you than milk, or sauerkraut is more potent nutritionally than just cabbage, even raw cabbage. A bio-fermented extract is going to be more potent for you topically. So fermented extracts are still a relatively new trend. There are a lot of people fermented extracts in beauty products. And so having the fermented extracts and having a product that features probiotics really ups the perceived value of your product, which allows you to charge more, which is only fair because, fermented extracts do cost more. Like a fermented bamboo extract does cost more than just a bamboo extract and glycerin, okay? About fermented extracts is that probiotics are the medicine of the future. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, you'll notice that in a lot of mainstream health magazines, in a lot of sports magazines, that even in a lot of places like GNC or any of these sort of workout, get my supplements type places, probiotics are all over the place. So probiotics aren't as, mysterious and unknown as they once were. They really are starting to become more mainstream, and people are really starting to understand the benefits of probiotics for our gut, for balancing our gut, which then controls a whole host of issues all over our body. That gives us better health, right? So people are starting to understand that topically. Doctors are recommending it to their patients for all kinds of things. Okay, so one thing that you might not know, I have a dentist who really recently graduated, like within the last 3-4 years from dental school, and he said that when he was in dental school, one of the things they were taught about industry trends in dentistry was that probiotics were really going to play a huge part in oral health in the future, meaning that our mouthwashes, our toothpaste, our you name it, we're going to have probiotics in them, okay? And he said that the inclusion of probiotics in oral care in a mainstream way, mainstream level outside of the holistic community, was really going to improve oral health so much that it would put his profession at risk. Chew on that for a minute. Okay, that is how effective probiotics are. So why would your skin and your hair and your scalp be any exception to that? Okay, so think about that when you're thinking about probiotics. Okay, so the next thing that you want to know about probiotics in products or fermented extracts is how on earth do you find them, right? Well, usually they are called bioferments or are marketed as bioferments. So, if it isn't obvious at the cosmetic ingredient supplier's website under bioferments, a lot of times you can figure out that something is a bioferment either by the way they describe it in the product description, as well as when you look at the NC name, the INCI name for the product, that's usually the scientific name of the plant's botanical name, right? And then next to that will be a probiotic name. So you can go ahead and look at the different probiotics to look and see, just sort of understand the names. The most common name that you'll see and the most commonly used probiotic for the fermented extracts, in my observation, okay, so I'm not a manufacturer of extracts, but in my observation from looking at things at the big suppliers, and I'm obsessed with this stuff. I do it morning, noon, and night. So I've seen a lot of different fermented extracts. I would guess even 60 to 70% of them are preserved with lactobacillus. So usually if you're not, in the know about different probiotic names, if you see lactobacillus, you're golden. You're golden. And there are other different names as well, but I can tell you how to find out about those later at the end of this video, or else this video will be too long. So the best place to shop for your bioferments is going to be Formulator Sample Shop. And this is a really strong hint, people. I think even in my free audio course where I give a ton of resources in the PDF download, I don't even know if I included this, but I usually save this for my people who hop on a call with me or who take a class from me. But this is one of my favorite places to shop for extracts. They have so many different kinds of things, usually are on the edge of what's available. Okay, so how do they make bioferments? How are bioferments made? Usually it's a 4-step process. So the first is maceration, which basically means it's just like when you make a smoothie in the morning or the evening, I don't know, whenever you make your smoothies. You take your fruit and veggies and you add a liquid like water or juice or milk or whatever you're using, and you blend it, right? So the maceration process is exactly that, except that I'm sure they're not using, a kitchen blender. They're probably using some huge thing so they can make a big vat of this stuff. But they macerate it with liquid, the whatever plant part or whole plant that they're using with liquid. And then they add probiotics to that pulpy liquid, right? And then they leave it for whatever amount of time they think is appropriate to create a reasonable fermentation that is effective. Then at the end of that time period, filter that pulpy liquid, or they strain it basically, or the resulting liquid, which is what we call the pulpy mess. They take that filtrate, they take that resulting liquid and they preserve it so it doesn't get any yucky stuff growing in it. All right. So what you should know about the filtrate, you want to know what it's preserved with, because it's unfortunate, but not every bioferment is preserved with something that I feel is acceptable. I did a whole YouTube video on how to check for toxic ingredients for your formulas and for products, finished consumer products that you're purchasing and all of that. And I'll put the link to it in the description box below, and at some point I will probably put an annotation that's popping up now that you can click on and go to that video if you haven't watched it yet. But really, I don't know why people would do this. Make something so divine, so sublime, so just exquisite as some kind of bioferment. Let's say it's a tomato bioferment or a watermelon bioferment, and then preserve it with parabens. But this happens, okay? Make sure you double check what it's preserved with. If it's something that's acceptable to you, make sure it's preserved with something that is either a 4 or less. If it's a 0 or 1, but you know, if it's preserved at a 4 or less at the percentage that you're using it in your formula, it probably still is really acceptable for human consumption and is not going to be as harmful to the environment. Okay. So if you're experimenting on yourself, you might be willing to go buy a small quantity, you know, say 4 ounces or whatever of something just to see how it works. You know, but that's something you have to decide for yourself. I personally was too scared. I thought I could do it, but I was like, no, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Not even on myself, definitely not kids, and certainly not on my friends or customers. But if you are willing to experiment on yourself with a certain thing, go ahead and do that. And then when you're ready to sell the product, that whether you're making it from your home kitchen, whether you're getting a chemist or you're hiring a lab to mass produce the heck out of your conditioner, shampoo, core refresher, whatever. Oftentimes, if you're buying a large enough quantity, they will preserve it with whatever you want them to preserve it with, or they will find something that you both can agree is acceptable for you. Okay, so you can actually get the manufacturer of that extract to tweak it just for you. So if enough people email them requesting that they preserve it with something different, they will pay attention to that and they can offer it with preserved with something different. Okay, so I'm going to share with you what my favorite bioferment is. I'm realizing as I see this that I actually have 2, but I'm only going to do 1 to keep the length of this video nice and short for you. It's probably like at 15 minutes or so already. It is bamboo bioferment. Oh my gosh, let me count the ways in which I love bamboo. So when you see bamboo growing in the wild, you can just Google pictures of it, or in a garden, or in, even a little bowl, whatever. You see how straight it is. It's like straight and hard. It can grow really, really tall. It brings that same quality to the hair. You have to realize that with nature often gives us clues about what something will do based on the visual of the plant. And when you see things that grow really straight and long like that, horsetail is another thing, grows sort of in those long stalks like bamboo does. And it's also full of silica, which really strengthens this. Now, whether it strengthens from the roots the way that nettle, I'm not as sure about that. But I know that topically, medically, it does give the strands the feeling of strength. It sort of fortifies on the outside, which has this protective effect. It's great for heat protecting because it creates a film over the strand, and that film forming quality also is great for creating fullness in thin hair or really fine hair. Kind of helps it look a little over time. And if your hair is already super full and voluminous, you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to make my hair look even fuller. Well, it actually doesn't. It gives it a nice volume without making it look too full. So it's perfect for any hair type really, but for thin hair, it does give a nice amount of volume. It helps to keep curly hair curly. So it, helps with definition because of the film forming. And it also, you're artificially straightening your hair to keep it straight. Like if you're blow drying it or flat ironing it, it'll help it. So they're just two precautions that bioferment. And by the way, bamboo bioferment can be used skin and hair, and it does create a nice film on the skin too, which is keeping moisture in and for creating smoothness. For example, you were making makeup and you want to smoothness or in kind of help smooth out fine lines. It kind of helps the gaps a little bit there. So the two precautions, it's really two here, but I'm thinking about three as I look at this. One, I don't want to use bamboo bioferment in an aqueous solution because it has this thing where it doesn't really mix with water. It's not going to mix with oil. It's only going to mix fully in an emulsion. Okay. So with that being the case, you only want to use it in a solution where you have an emulsifier and something creamy, or else it's going to look funny and disjointed, or something slimy is going to be in there, which is fine. It still makes it usable. If you're just using it at home, you just shake, 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 and then use it, spray or squirt or whatever. But if you're and they see that on the shelf, it could issue in their mind, and you want to avoid that. The second thing is it does have a bit of a smell, a slight odor, so you're not going to be able to use it in unscented products. Creamy products, you might be able to get away with it. I haven't tried a creamy product that's unscented, but any sort of more watery product that's unscented, definitely not, because it will dominate the smell of that. I usually use bamboo bioferment anywhere from 5 to 10%, and at that level, you will smell it. If you're just adding essential or hopefully a plant-based acceptable fragrance oil, not some sort of weird artificial fragrance oil, then you could probably get away. But really, just only use it in scented things for that reason. The third thing is that it is ferment. You don't want big vats of it unless you know that you are gonna go, all the way with your manufacturing, and you're gonna be quantities of making. You only want to buy stuff that you can use within 6 months, okay? Because it bad once it's in the formula, it's adequately preserved, it won't go bad, obviously. But when you're buying the product and you're just storing it in your house, definitely want to keep it in a cool place. Not necessarily the refrigerator, but in a cool, dry cupboard, keep it past 6 months, but you definitely don't want to order it in the summertime. Do not order in the summertime, okay? Because if you're on a UPS truck, you don't know what kind of depot it's spending the nights in, how many hours it's in a really super hot UPS. If you live in Phoenix like I do, I mean, sometimes it can get to 120 degrees or 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And the UPS driver is driving around with no air conditioning, box of bioferment in the back. It might not get to you the way you want it to get to you. So don't do it. Only order in the winter.